Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to show how I cleaned the skeleton that I found in my front yard. If you haven't seen that video, I will include it up here, but essentially I found a skeleton of a rabbit, those are my frogs making noises, in my front yard, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this for sure because, I like little oddities. I have a video I'll showcase up here about my oddities, but I just really love them. I think they're so neat, and I know it's kind of creepy or gross to some people, but like I can't help it. I just think it's so cool. I love natural things. So I needed to clean the bones before I could properly showcase them, and so I have done it, and I'm going to show you guys how I did it, and then I'm going to show you guys how I put them on display. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do it. Let's clean some bones. So how did I clean the bones I found in my front yard, which are of a rabbit? Essentially what I did was I let them just sit in my room for a few weeks because I was like, okay, eventually I'm gonna get around to washing them. So they did have some time to just sit, and they were dirty with earth, not with any actual like animal matter left. Like there were just bones left, no tissue or muscle or anything like that. So really, I just had to get the dirt off and any sort of staining. So what I did, as you can see here, is I took a bamboo toothbrush, which was an old toothbrush, and some antibacterial hand soap, and I just started gently going to town on these bones, removing the dirt, and I just used warm water. And I have a wash rag sitting in the bottom of the sink because I didn't want any of the small bones to fall and go down the drain, but I still wanted the water to drain, so I just did this because I'm a klutz, and I knew myself, so I was like, let's prevent that from happening. I'm only going to show the pelvis, the jaws, and the head being cleaned because it took forever, especially with the smaller ones, to get in all the nooks and crannies. One thing I want to say is that on the skull, if you're doing something similar, be careful because there are definitely moving parts. And the skull, I think, is probably the most important part. Like, I don't know, most important, but it's like the coolest part, so I didn't want to break it. But you'll see here in a second that I show the back moves a bit, so you want to be careful there. And also later on, I'll show you that the nose moves a bit as well, so you want to be careful. After rinsing and washing all the bones, I put them in a pitcher and I put 3% peroxide in and I let them soak for 24 hours. I actually should have used 12% peroxide, which is food grade. I didn't have that. A lot of places online were saying to use the 12% because it's stronger, but this actually worked really well. The bones came super clean, which you guys will see at the end, but there was immediate bubbling, and you'll see here in a second, there's a huge mass of bubbles that were just chilling on the surface for a long time. So I think it did its job really well, but it is recommended to use 12%. And also I let this sit for 12 hours and then I dumped it out, rinsed out all the dirt and little particles and bubbles and everything, and then I filled it back up again with peroxide, which you'll see here in a second. Look at that massive giant pile of bubbles. It's so fascinating. Anyways, so then I, after 12 hours, emptied it and did it again, and there was no bubbling happening. So I knew it pretty much at that point that they were done. And typically if you're going to use the 12% peroxide, you should dilute it, but because I had 3%, I didn't dilute it. I just used straight peroxide. So while soaking the head, I did lose one of the teeth that was left on the other side. So I'm just using a bobby pin to get a little bit of dirt that was stuck in there out, because now that the tooth is out, I could see more dirt that I had actually missed. But I filled the sink a little bit with water and had the washcloth there again to prevent me from losing any little bones. And I just basically rinsed all of them off after taking them out of the peroxide. So basically after removing them from the peroxide, which I had them in for almost a full 24 hours, I just rinsed them in water to get off any leftover peroxide and any little dirt flecks and whatnot, and then set them aside to dry. So here's all the bones. I left them out to dry on a towel. And then here's a comparison photo, so you can see I used like the shoulder blade for reference, but the first picture is how I found them really dirty. The second picture is after I scrubbed them with the soap, and the third picture is when I was leaving them out to dry after the peroxide rinse. And then believe it or not, after they dried, they were even whiter. Like a lot of the green stains that were on the pelvis are completely gone. Like look, so cool, it came out so clean. I really didn't anticipate that they would come out this white or this smooth or this clean, given the fact that I only had 3% peroxide and you're supposed to use 12, but I was really impressed. So this method definitely worked for what I needed, and I'm really happy with it. So after cleaning the bones, the next step was to put them on a shelf and display them. I found this box used on Amazon and thought it was like a cool little decorative coffin, especially given its like kind of octagonal shape. Is it an octagon? 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. Maybe it's not an octagon. Anyways, moving on. I really liked the box, I thought it was really decorative, and I thought it would fit all the bones. That is where I was wrong. And then you'll see here, I struggle really hard trying to get everything to fit in here perfectly. That was probably the most frustrating part of this process. Because of course, being someone who's like type A, I really wanted everything to be symmetrical. I really wanted the skull and the pelvis to be kind of like center stage. So when you look at them through the glass, they're like pretty obvious. I also had a lot of issues with the skull. The tooth kept falling out. The jaws wouldn't stay connected. That was an annoying part in itself. This whole thing took like an hour trying to figure out where to put everything. And eventually I was just like, that's it. I'm gonna put some of the skeleton in this little like coffin jar glass display box thing, and the rest are gonna go into little vials, which I had on hand because I use them often for other things I find, other oddities and reptile sheds and things like that. Once I figured out how to put everything inside of the jars and in this display glass coffin thing, I decided to put them on the shelf, and I, finagled with how to arrange everything, and then ultimately decided on what you'll see here in a minute. But I just want to say I also made this shelf because I was like, I need somewhere to put my bracelets, and I made this by hand, so props to me. But anyways, here is the final design. I have some of the bones to the left, some of the bones to the right, and some of the bones, the most like cool ones I think, in the middle, including the skull. And yeah, it was really cool. This whole process of cleaning the bones and displaying them, I really have enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're also enjoying my frogs, which have... Yeah, they're not letting up, so enjoy. But I hope you enjoyed listening to them in the intro and outro. And I hope you enjoyed seeing how I cleaned the rabbit bones and put them on display. It was definitely a really fun project, and if you guys would like to see more things like this, then you have to pray that I find more bones. Because that's the only way it's gonna happen, because I don't go out and buy bones, so, or kill animals for their bones. I would never do that. But, I mean, I just can't imagine I'll come across a pile of bones in my front yard again anytime soon. But if I do, I promise I'll make a video about it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.